eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
What the hell is going on, everybody? Over 100 people here ready to go. You just love to see that. I'm excited for a good show today. We're going to be looking at Deep Prasad, which is a story that I actually really enjoy telling people about because of the way that I learned this story. Now, obviously you guys have seen the thumbnail, so you probably have a bit of a gist of what's going on here. But the thing is, I'm going to try and relay the story to you in the way that I learned this story, okay, to try and give you the same kind of context, because it is a very, very strange one. So we've got a few clips that we're going to get into about Deep Prasad. That's going to be the main part of the show. But we're going to do just a couple of small clips just while people are kind of filing in. It's probably going to be a bit of a shorter show today. Serp mentioned that we are going live at the same time as SpaceX. That is correct. But the real question is, who is going to get to the moon first? I don't know. The way the subs have been going this week, I don't know. Been kind of crazy. Christina celebrating 7 months as a member. Keep up the great work, Josh. Weirdos stand up. Thank you very much, Christina. Long-time supporter. And Rusty has gifted out a membership. You legend, Rusty. Thank you very much, my bro. So, slap a like on the video if you haven't already. As you guys know, you present it when you leave and you get a 20% discount at your local mental health facility. Let's jump over to Polarity TV. It is Suki's day off today, unfortunately. She did say she was coming into work, but she hasn't arrived. So I'm just going to assume it's her day off. Now, just recently, we looked at the clip from Tucker Carlson's podcast with Sam Altman. And basically, Tucker Carlson was low-key accusing Sam Altman of murder or something like that. Kind of wild to happen on a podcast. Well, in a strange synchronicity, both of these people have individually manifested their own 2 clips of hilarity and strangeness this week. So I thought we'll just take a quick look at them. They're only about a minute and a half each. And then we'll get into the main part of the show. So this is Sam Altman. You know what? I'm not even going to tell you guys what it's about. Let's just watch.
No, I'm a huge note taker.
Oh, tell me about that.
There's all these like fancy notebooks in the world.
Yeah.
You don't want those. You definitely want a spiral notebook because one thing that's important is you can rip pages out frequently. And you also want it to lie like flat and open on the table. And if you like open pages, you want them to like, like be able to lay like this, whatever. You definitely want to be able to like rip pages out. I'm a big believer of like, I take a bunch of notes and then I like clearly like rip them out so I can look at multiple pages at the same time. And I can like crumple them up and throw them on the floor when I'm done. Like when our house cleaner comes in, I'm like,
crumple them up and throw them on the floor when he's done for the house cleaner. Because when you're a millionaire, you don't need bins. You just use house cleaners to pick it up off the floor. Okay.
Whatever. There's just these pile of crumpled papers that I'm like type my notes in or whatever on the floor. You definitely want like a kind of paper that is like good to write on, which is a feel thing, but most paper is terrible to write on. You want hard front and back to the notepad. And you also want something that can fit in a pocket.
I was about to say that.
Important.
I think the Uniball Micro 0.5 pen is the best pen overall. But the
so he's min-maxing his pens as well.
Muji 0.36 or 0.37 in dark blue ink is a very nice pen for other reasons. So those are the 2 I would use, but
he's not going to tell us what those reasons are. We have to work that out ourselves. Continue.
I think this kind of notebook and one of those 2 pens is the right answer.
And how many notes you're writing per day on that thing?
I go through one of these like every 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, wow. So you're taking a lot of...
Well, you can see how much I've ripped out. Like this used to have like 100 pages in it.
So that's how you think about it. So you're going to basically take the notebook and then you rip out the pages.
Pretty
and you
much.
Don't have completed notebooks.
I don't have completed notebooks.
Wow. What inspired this? Where does this come from?
Lots of trial and error. Many kinds of notebooks, many pens, many different systems. This one's really good.
So guys, this is what happens. This is what it looks like when your mum takes Tylenol. Okay? This is essentially... This is what happens when you resort to taking Tylenol at every inconvenience. You get Sam Altman, who min-maxes his pens and his notepads. If this guy isn't an android, then I don't know who is. If this guy isn't an android, then I don't know. Terminator wasn't a documentary. All right, let's go to Tucker Carlson now. This is him. I'm sure a few people probably saw this one. This is him at the Charlie Kirk memorial thing.
And it actually reminds me of my favorite story ever. So it's about 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem, and Jesus shows up and he starts talking about the people in power, and he starts doing the worst thing that you can do, which is telling the truth about people, and they hate it, and they just go bonkers. They hate it, and they become obsessed with making him stop. This guy's got to stop talking. We've got to shut this guy up. And I can just sort of picture the scene in a lamplit room with a bunch of guys sitting around eating hummus, thinking about what do we do about this guy telling the truth about us? We must make him stop talking. And there's always one guy with the bright idea, and I could just hear him say, I've got an idea, why don't we just kill him? That'll shut him up. That'll fix the problem.
The Tucker laugh has to be one of the most funniest things in history. He can say something that is not that funny and then laugh like this after it.
That'll fix the problem.
And I will find it immediately funny. So, who is he talking about?
This guy
though?
telling the truth about us. We must make him stop talking. And there's always one guy with the bright idea, and I could just hear him say, I've got an idea, why don't we just kill him? That'll shut him up. That'll fix the problem.
I've got a feeling that, if Tucker keeps talking like that, they might try and kill him too. And that isn't a joke. That actually isn't a joke. I'm being serious. The Aussie says, welcome, you little freak. Thank you very much for becoming a member, sir. And Abraxas celebrating 3 months as a member. Blessed to be a witness. Brother, I'm blessed to have you here. Thank you very much. All right, let's get into the main part of the show, guys. So we're looking at Deep Prasad. Now, if you don't know who Deep Prasad is, he is essentially, the title says that he is a young tech genius. When I say young, he's probably only maybe 3 or 4 years younger than me. So, he's probably in his late 20s, early 30s now. But the reason why I say young is because he has got his own company in like quantum computing. He's in Silicon Valley. I feel like to be doing that at this age is young, right? That's why I'm calling him young. Not that I needed to justify that, but anyway. And this is how I learned about Deep Prasad. Okay, we're going to be watching 2 clips from a very old...
I'm here with Deep.
A very old Jesse Michels episode from over 3 years ago when Jesse Michels was sort of just getting going. And he interviewed Deep Prasad. And this is how I heard about him originally. Okay? And this interview, the first 2 clips that we're just going to look at is just a look at who Deep Prasad is, because this is how I found out about this story, right? I watched this first and I was like, damn, this kid is like a genius doing crazy things. He's interested in reverse engineering UFOs and things like that. So I feel like these clips are important just to get to know Deep Prasad. And then I'm going to show you the actual story. And I just feel like getting this context first is important because it shows you like this kid is not a wacko. You know what I mean? He's actually clearly highly intelligent. And to have watched this first and then watch what we're about to watch in that order, if you haven't watched either, you're in for a treat. Because for me, it blew my mind. It really did. So we'll get into that. Stevie with $5 says Tucker's dropping bombs, also implying the juice box is responsible for Kirk. Too bad Tucker has that Russian shadow hanging over his legacy. Thank you very much, Stevie, you legend. And Charlie Boo, you little freak, welcome And thank you very much for becoming a member. Guys, if you're a new member, make sure you check out the members-only content. There's a bunch of other stuff over there as well. All right, let's get into learning about who Deep Prasad is.
Prasad, who is 26 years old, he has a quantum computing startup, but part of the mission of this quantum computing startup, it's actually reverse engineering UAPs or UFOs based on their observable properties. In some sense, the most interesting starting point is like, how does one get into both quantum computing and UAPs?
It completely blew my mind that the technologies, the observables, and what was being reported, there was no way, in my personal opinion, that that could be a derivative of any human science. So you have hypersonic velocities, for example, right, with no signature.
Oh my gosh, look at this thing. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west.
As the waves get created around your craft, the waves at the beginning, the sound waves at the top, will get bunched up and compressed. And that's the sonic boom that you hear. So when an object can travel at greater than 5 times the speed of sound, like the tic-tac, which is estimated to reach at least 31 times the speed of sound, and it doesn't disturb the air around you, to me, immediately I realized that's not your average macroscopic interaction. So the physics that we use to describe macroscopic bodies no longer applies to these things.
Like my colleague Eric Weinstein likes to
Yes, Deep is going deep. Deep actually goes quite deep on all things quantum physics and AI.
say, this isn't new engineering, it's new physics.
Correct.
The role of aerospace companies as holders of potentially basic scientific knowledge, not...
Did anyone see the video I posted on X of Eric Weinstein shredding the guitar? Dude shreds. Yep, follow me on X. The link is there, at Polarity Josh. Eric Weinstein can play the guitar very well.
held by aerospace companies that is not
There
known.
certainly is materials knowledge, which involves topological physics.
Okay, so how does this relate to your interest in quantum computing?
You know what? Let me give you an actual example and why this might apply to UAPs.
Yeah.
So let's rewind to 1911. Because we can never ever observe absolute zero, we should never be able to observe exactly zero resistance. And in 1911, when Dr. Ohms discovered the first superconductor, it blew everybody's mind because this was supposed to be thought impossible. And 40 years later, we finally understood why this was even possible at all. And we learned that it's because of quantum mechanics. That quantum mechanical behavior occurs at the macroscopic scale, and that's what we're observing. And it only applies to, keep in mind, low temperature superconductors. We still don't know how high temperature superconductors work. We know that it's some weird quantum phenomenon, but we don't have the physics and perhaps mathematics to describe what's happening there, or the computers. So what did we learn in 1911? We learned that when a material breaks the laws of physics, when anything does, it's actually probably because it's an emergent property or an emergent phenomenon, right, of underlying strange quantum mechanics that are going on.
Okay, so you're looking at properties of UAPs, things like, hypersonic travel with no signatures, or breaking conservation of momentum.
Right.
You can't make that work in sort of our classical physics or aerospace ability.
Glad we all survived the rapture. What's up, 420 Breezy? Yeah, when was that? Am I late for that? What time is it? That's meant to be happening today, is it? Or have I missed it?
So you have that, and then you have this interest sort of in quantum field theory. How does this relate to quantum computing? And yeah, how do you tie it all together?
So look, when I first started in quantum computing, my goal was to be able to simulate any new material and predict it before having to make it in the lab, right? I wanted to be able to tell, is this new combination of atoms going to be the next semiconductor? Will it be the next solar cell, the next batteries?
That's cool. So you wanted like the ultimate modeling software or something.
You got it.
Like what Tesla could do in his brain. But,
True.
And you would be able to do that with quantum computing? Or?
We will. Oh, absolutely. Quantum computers, they take a different approach. They say, instead of treating quantum effects as this unwanted thing that we're engineering around, right, and incorporating accounting for, let's actually leverage it. Let's create quantum systems of our own and manipulate them so that we can simulate other quantum systems. Because in order to simulate nature, and nature is quantum mechanical, you need a system that is also quantum mechanical.
Are we all keeping up here, by the way? I'm sure. Are we all keeping up? Nobody's getting left behind. We all on board. We all are completely across everything Deep is saying. Everyone understands what quantum is, I'm assuming. Yes. Okay, good.
The quantum mechanical world is like a dream world. Powerful and ethereal, anything can happen in it. However, as soon as somebody on the outside disturbs you, you wake up and all you're left with are memories. Similarly, subatomic particles exist in a probabilistic state of many possibilities, but when they interact with an observer, they collapse into a single state. As a result, quantum hardware, which relies on maintaining two or more states in quantum superposition, will decohere if they're interfered with by anything from the outside. This is the main bottleneck for building fully fledged and functional quantum computers. They're incredibly sensitive and they often require very specific and energy intensive environments in order to maintain coherence. This is why initially Deep is using a quantum computer simulator instead of quantum hardware.
All quantum computers, the algorithms that we're running on them, they are universal computations. What that means is that we will be able to model any algorithm we want on quantum computers. And so what we can do is, if you're smart enough, if you're clever enough, you can figure out the right mathematical representation of the many-body Schrodinger equation and port it onto a quantum computer simply by the fact that you can approximate any algorithm you want on a quantum computer. So if you have algorithms and mathematical models that map right from quantum computing to many-body Schrodinger equations, you're in the money. And that's what we do, right?
So there you go. I mean, it's all pretty straightforward stuff. It's, if anyone did get left behind, I think just here, it's just on the screen there. So if you just want to quickly whack that one, work it out, it shouldn't take too long. It's just basic stuff, really. We're just talking, quantum and Schrodinger equations. So, just anyone who's behind, I'll give you another 5 seconds just to get caught up, and it shouldn't take you too long, and then we'll just keep moving. No, look, if anyone is feeling like what the hell is going on, it's okay. You're probably not alone. This stuff is very complex, and that's why this guy is a genius. But as we go into the next clip, Deep Prasad goes deep, ironically, on quantum computing a little bit further and explains it with the help of Jesse, and also on AI. Okay, and this will be the last little clip that we look at, and then we'll get into the wild story. Then we will go deep on Deep himself.
Every physical material ever is a quantum system. Your brain, your skin, everything is made of atoms, and all atoms are described by quantum mechanical rules.
It's almost a form of blind exceptionalism to say that the body is not quantum, because everything else is quantum.
True.
So then how much quantum sensing is going on, that's unclear, but...
Exactly. It's not like we came into existence as giant macroscopic bodies, right? We literally started from an amoeba. We were closer to the quantum scale when we started out. So it's hard to imagine that...
I think there are still some people in the world that I would say maybe in the physical human form, but are mentally still in the amoeba form.
That we didn't evolve, even at the cellular level, some ability to use quantum effects.
Yes, some people are still stuck there, Deep.
For sure.
Do you think your brain is a quantum sensor? Like the Penrose argument would be, so it's like we don't perceive anything kind of in its quantum form. Obviously, we perceive, a bigger proportion kind of classical stuff.
Right.
And the Penrose argument would be that, you have a probabilistic universe, you have Schrodinger's wave equation, and we're collapsing Schrodinger's wave into a specific eigenstate using, this some quantum sensor in our brain, maybe microtubules or maybe something else.
Right.
Do you believe that? Or
the thing is that with our brain, there may be parts of our brain that could behave like a quantum sensor. We know that there are birds that can navigate the Earth's magnetic field and can sense it, right? Using quantum sensing, essentially biological quantum sensing. The body and biology at large is typically warm, wet, and
this part's really interesting.
Noisy. Not conditions that you think of as conducive to maintaining quantum coherence or exhibiting quantum properties. But scientists now know that there are actually parts of biology that do exhibit quantum effects. For example, there are birds called robins that have a specific protein called a cryptochrome in their eye called CRY4 that actually uses quantum effects to sense the magnetic field of the Earth. Electron pairs in the CRY4 protein arrange themselves based on the robin's position and direct the bird where it needs to go based on the magnetic field of the Earth. It's basically biological GPS. Lockheed observed these birds, right? Or like the physics.
Of course they did.
And they decided, can we replicate this with existing sensors? Can we create a quantum sensor that does the same thing that these birds are doing to detect the Earth's magnetic field? And they succeeded. As of 6 years ago, they created what's called a dark ice magnetometer. So with these magnetometers, they can navigate anywhere on Earth without a GPS, with GPS precision. They don't need a satellite. They can be underwater. They can be wherever the hell they want. And they can...
That's pretty amazing. Right. All sorts of national security vulnerabilities with GPS satellites.
For sure.
It's kind of wild, right? Lockheed Martin, from studying an animal, have basically like reverse engineered the animal's capability and have developed a organic GPS that doesn't require satellites, that is purely using the Earth's natural existing magnetic field to determine its position anywhere on Earth. That's actually wild. And, you know, if we're able to do that with animals, like reverse engineer an animal's ability, essentially, I guess you could say that's what's happening, right? What other animals could you apply that to? Like the first thing I think of is like an octopus and its ability to change its skin, like cloak, like it can cloak itself and blend in. And we often hear that with like UAPs, right? That they just materialize. I mean, if you go and look at a video of an octopus hiding and coming out of hiding, it almost looks like it materializes. Like when they're on rocks and like coral reefs and things like that, they not only does their color blend in, but they almost change like the texture of their skin as well. I definitely think that like at the very least they are attempting that. If not, they've already got it. But I would probably put money on we've already got it.
Sure. And then if you don't have access to GPS for whatever reason.
And imagine if you're an extraterrestrial species visiting a new planet, you don't have access to GPS. You're going to
magnetometer, that's it. I think studying anomalies is incredibly important.
Absolutely.
And should be seen as possibly a harbinger of the next paradigm.
Absolutely.
And
guys, we've got 900 in here, only 200 likes on the video. Come on, slap the like, because you know when you leave, you get 20% off at your local mental health facility. But you only get that if you have your ticket stamped with the like button.
And not shoved away and not, I mean, I think we're over-indexed on like people like Michael Shermer, like justifying the current paradigm. That doesn't move science forward. That's not exciting at all.
It doesn't. It also doesn't face reality. I really believe in, you know, as cheesy as it sounds, facing reality. If we're realizing that the scientific method is not giving us the full picture, we should be looking at new methods too that complement, right, science as well. Because we know now, or at least we have good indications that the universe is indeed not static. As in, if I were to measure something, there is a non-zero chance some crazy anomaly that has never been properly categorized will occur in my measurement, in my experiment. And we need to be able to quantify that somehow, and we need to account for it. We have to be comfortable with the fact that maybe when we study the abyss, it studies us back.
What would you be working on if it wasn't quantum computing?
If quantum computers didn't exist, I would definitely be in artificial intelligence.
Do you think AI will ever get to a point where it's generative and a human doesn't need to feed it some ideal end state that it's sort of judging it on?
Yes. It will be when our fundamental machine learning models are better and improved and we go beyond the neural networks of today, and when they have their own physical body, because that's what they're missing, is the ability to actually interact with the world around them.
Where I would disagree with like Elon Musk or Nick Bostrom or that camp of people is like they seem to have these like doomsday scenarios in their head.
Yeah, this is like when AI has bodies and they're more intelligent than us, that's when it's over, bro. That's when it's all over for all of us. Note that Jesse's wearing the teal jumper too. Very interesting. Very interesting. What's going on there? What is going on there? Di's gifted a membership. Thank you very much, Di, you legend. Very generous of you.
They're like near term, where like these like sentient killer robots decide that, you know, human space is useless and, you know, or they don't fit into some objective function, and then we end up getting thrown out and killed. And where we are now, which is like statistics on steroids, to that just feels like this insane leap of logic. And I actually think the more insidious narrative is that AI is already killing us, but AI is just consumer apps, and consumer apps are eating us, our brains. You know?
I think it's brilliant. No, that's a very, very wise insight, because most people who use TikTok, for example, right?
Yes.
They have no freaking clue how much they are being manipulated by an artificial intelligence.
Totally.
No idea the extent of it.
So true. So true. Like the way when you're scrolling Reels or TikTok or stories even, like the way it curates the different types of things that you're scrolling through is crazy. It's like it's literally running calculations based on all the small actions that you've taken when you've interacted with that app to try and work out which type of reel is going to keep you flicking to the next one right now. There's even been times where I find there's times where like I put my phone down and I get off Instagram or something like that. And then within 30 seconds, I get like a notification from Instagram that is not even like, it's not a message. It's not a like or anything like that. It's like Instagram just trying to get me back on the app. It's actually insidious.
Put the news at the bottom. That's disgusting.
So imagine, we already saw problems with Facebook when people were experimenting with Facebook's news feed to see how it affect people's mood, and then, alleged suicides and deaths would increase during this results of this experimentation. Right? How do we know that's not also happening with TikTok and other outlets and so on?
Yeah.
So absolutely, there's an insidious aspect of AI that we should worry about. That's outside of the...
I think so too. I think it's killing us with a whimper, not with a bang.
Love it.
It's
That's
just
so well
eating away at us sort of parasitically.
Oh, there, parasitically. I mean, this is exactly what I said, I'm pretty sure, in the last live stream, where I was talking about, the phenomenon seems to be a technological intelligence that we are replicating that's going to like take over us, but we can't stop because we are led by a technological god in a sense. And what I mean by that is like, it has like infiltrated our technology, has infiltrated our society to a point where we rely on it so much that we can't live without it. So therefore, like, we are subservient to it. And we continue to reiterate and replicate on AI, despite the fact that we know that it's not good for us. We keep doing it. It's exactly what Nathaniel Gillis said, that the phenomenon seems to be a species that is self-replicating itself through us. Like, we are the egg and it is the sperm or something like that. It makes too much sense. It's kind of scary.
Quantum computers in the next, like, let's say, to be conservative, 15 years, I'm being highly conservative there, will become powerful enough to completely make RSA obsolete. RSA encryption is the backbone of society, right? It's what allows you to securely access your bank account, to send messages on Facebook.
You could reverse engineer that with quantum computing.
Exactly. That will happen. It is not a matter of if, but when.
So you could double spend Bitcoin.
You could double spend. All of these, most of these cryptocurrencies today will become obsolete because of quantum computing.
Well, that's an interesting sort of black swan.
There you go. Sell your Bitcoin, sell your Ethereum, sell your puppy Shiba meme coin. Get out, because it's all going to crash, according to Deep.
Event around crypto.
It will happen, totally. Yeah. And it's going to, a lot of people will get blindsided, caught blindsided in that. Absolutely.
Interesting.
Absolutely. And so what happens when there are nation state actors or people who are intelligent enough that can build quantum computers, and suddenly the whole world's information is exposed, right? What happens if I can read your Facebook messages now that you've sent throughout your whole life?
Right.
How does...
Oh, no, we don't want that. We definitely don't want that. We do not want my Facebook messages exposed. And I'm sure I'm not alone in that one. Buy Polarity coin. Yep, your Polarity crypto scam will be coming in 2026. Don't worry, I'm working on it.
Disturbing would that be?
Can't wait to pull the rug on you guys.
So I think that that event alone will force society
It's the apocalypse.
exactly,
Yeah.
or like force us to work together, basically, like because like everybody will lose their leverage, right, at the same time.
I thought that was a little interesting note to finish on there, where he says, you know, this incoming techno-based artificial intelligence apocalypse is going to remove human leverage because everything can be done by a super intelligence. And it's going to force people to almost have to come together. It could almost reestablish a sense of community in a hyper-advanced technological world. I think that's a really interesting theory. And I actually think there is some weight to that because, you know... Sorry. Siri just started teeing off on me. Where was I? Technology. Yes, technology going to force us because like we're going to be forced to have to return to community, I think, because at the end of the day, all we have is each other, right? Am I right? What a humble way to end that, okay? What a wholesome way to end that. Now we're going to get into the main story, okay? The wild alien/abduction encounter with Deep Prasad. Just before I do, though, Maggie, thank you for the $2. Mavis G celebrating 1 month as a member. This is so amazing, and you're right. If it's been filtered down to YouTube, then the US government has it. Thanks for always staying on top of all the wacky stuff. It's my pleasure. I literally live in this rabbit hole. This is my home. Don't tell anyone that I live like this. Tommy Bird has gifted a membership. Tommy, you're a legend, sir. Always supporting. Thank you very much. And Simon has become a weirdo, you little freak, Simon. Thank you. All right, now let's all hold hands and take a deep breath before we prepare to go deep with Deep.
So you join the conversation, you expand the boundaries of it, you tell people I'm interested in this,
Yeah.
Here's what I think, and then it's like the universe reaches out and grabs you by the throat. Tell me about the experience.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm working in my, so I run my own little company, right? And so I try to get all.
Sorry to interrupt. But I just want to say, like, okay, I think based on that, anyone who doesn't know this story, I think we can all establish that like Deep comes across as a very like intelligent, grounded, just a decent young human being, right? So I had no idea about this video before I saw it. I'd seen the Jesse Michels thing and I knew who he was. I just thought he was some tech guru kid. And then I found this out. And I believe that this happened before the Jesse Michels interview, which is strange because I would have thought Jesse would have spoke to him about it. But that episode that Jesse did with Deep is only like half an hour long. But it's linked in the description if you guys want to go check out the whole thing. But here we go. I won't interrupt anymore.
All the admin work, all the work I don't like doing out of the way first. So this is 9:40 in the morning, and I'm in my room, just like sitting against my headboard and sending emails on my laptop. And I put down my laptop for just a second to pick up my phone, and as soon as I do that, I get this like, it's like I knew exactly what would happen next. That's the weirdest part. One of the weirdest parts about this is that I felt like I knew that I'm about to go through an experience, and I'm even going to call it an abduction because that's the best word that my brain can come up with. Like these were my this all came to me within half a second or maybe milliseconds. And then I realized that I couldn't even move, and I started freaking out because, like, when you lose full control of your body, your motor cortex, that's never happened to me before, like, while being consciously awake and suddenly you just can't do anything. It was terrifying. I thought that I ran through a bunch of emotions, so, like, my mind was, like, running very quickly. I'm like, is this a seizure? Nope, doesn't look like it. I can still, like, move my eyes and stuff. I'm not convoluting or anything or convulsing. Am I dying? And so I scanned the room just with my eyes for like I did about 2 scans, and then by the time I get to my 3rd scan, I see this shimmering object. It's like it's a white outline with like these big black eyes. And initially, like I thought like this can't be real. Like I can't. I must be making this up, right? Like I must be hallucinating this. Suddenly, it became completely solid, completely materialized, and I see this being. It's about 3 to 4 feet tall. Its head is massive, like probably the head alone was about a foot. Very like robotic looking. The whole thing that it was wearing was like one uniform Snow White spacesuit. Like it was very pure white with like this golden insignia in the middle that was constantly changing colors.
Interesting. Again, like I swear in like every encounter type story with what sounds like a gray, they're always in these like skin tight full body suits. He said white, but almost in every other case we hear that they're black. Obviously on the thumbnail we had the Skinny Bob footage, which, you know, is up for debate. But I mean, this is a recurring theme. Even in the Dr. Reed footage, it's got black. In the drawings the children made from Rua, Zimbabwe, they're in black, like these black turtleneck long suits. It's so interesting, and just, again, like I just find it, there's no way that all these people are just individually, coincidentally, including this identical odd detail about these beings.
Sorry, not changing colors, changing symbols. And so that was weird in itself, and suddenly two other beings materialized the same exact way right next to it. And initially when I saw that, I wasn't even that scared. I was more scared that I couldn't move, right? Like that was freakier. And I figured, all right, if I look away, these things are gonna be gone. Like I'm dreaming this or something. And I looked around and I like looked back, and now they're just walking around my room like they own the room. And I was terrified. I was like terrified and fascinated, because I was like, holy crap, these things are real. Like these stories I've read, people might not have been lying. That was one of the most profound realizations I had. I was like, now I'm one of them too. Now I see what they see. Like now I see why this drives people, right? And so even that, like throughout the whole time though, I was still so in disbelief, but it was so real and so in my face that it was still scary, very scary initially. So
did he get up and punch them in the face? No, that's a CIA tactic. That's just a CIA tactic when you see a reptilian specifically. Other than that, most people just cower in fear. But if you're an ex-CIA agent, you just get up and punch reptilians like it's a normal Tuesday.
Like I would try to move myself, and I couldn't move anything other than my neck. And that was the weird part. So I moved my neck a little bit, just by about an inch, and I feel extremely nauseous when I did that. So like I was fighting like the paralysis, you can say. And as I did, this like their craft sort of materializes through my room. So like through my roof. So my roof disappears, and I can see their craft sort of submerge through the roof. And I was like, that's not possible. That it definitely made it seem like either my room was a fake image, or that was like a fake image being overlaid across my eyes. Then I put my neck down a little bit more, and suddenly my entire room is gone, and all I could see is that I'm inside the entire craft now. And I felt super sick to my stomach, like very uneasy, not out of fear or anything. It was some weird reaction. Not sure why I was feeling nauseous, and so I couldn't handle that feeling. So I went back, put my head back down, and back, like my room is back up again. And I only.
A few people in the chat are saying sleep paralysis. Maybe you missed the start of the story. This didn't happen while he was asleep. He said it's like 9, 10 a.m. He's sitting up in bed on his laptop doing like admin work, and this happened. So he had been awake for a while and was awake and was in the middle of working, and this started happening.
I see my room and these three beings, and now they're projecting these hieroglyphics. It was sentences and paragraphs, and it would be like, imagine if I had like subtitles floating in front of me. They were like dark red symbols. It was like, I describe it as a mix of Egyptian and Japanese, and they were just flipping from the bottom up really, really fast. Just flip, 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 paragraph, sentence, and it's hovering right in front of my wall, like above one of their heads.
Again, crazy, similar details. I mean, not only are there hieroglyphics on so many of these craft that we hear about that have crashed, but also in a holographic type sense. We heard that in the Randy Anderson story where he said he saw this gauntlet type thing. That was again on Jesse Michels. This wrist gauntlet type thing that was projecting some kind of hologram of what he said looked like hieroglyphics, which is basically exactly the same story here. Could he have fallen asleep or have been dreaming while he was working? Is that possible? I mean, sure, it's possible. But that's not what he's saying. He's saying that he was awake and that he was working. So, I guess we should believe him because there's no reason not to, right? I mean, that's why I showed you the first few clips, because he seems like a pretty down-to-earth, intelligent guy. He has a quantum computing company. If a guy with a quantum computing company tells me a story and says, yeah, I had been awake, I wouldn't say to him, are you sure you forgot you weren't sleeping? I know you own a quantum computer company, but did you maybe forget that you might have been asleep? You know, I tend to maybe just believe him when he says he wasn't asleep.
And one thing that I think is worth noting is that there was only one English symbol that was shown about 3 to 4 times. Everything else was these hieroglyphs.
And what was it?
DNA in capital letters. It was it was frustrating because I realized that even if this is my mind or whatever, it knows English, like whatever these things are, but they're refusing to use English words like, I don't know what this is, you know. It was extremely frustrating, but also I was super fascinated. I was studying their movements. I was studying like exactly what was going on and trying to like do my best to remember these symbols. I can only remember expressions because, like, imagine if I just showed you Chinese for the first time, right? Could you recreate any of the characters? I can't. So, but the fact that DNA in capital letters was shown, that really stuck with me. It means that they find it relevant.
Pretty crazy, right? I mean, the point that he made there, the fact that, and it does make a lot of sense, and I resonate with his frustration here, that like, if they're showing the letters DNA, that means they know English, which would mean they know that he doesn't understand anything other than English, most likely. Yet they're flicking through all of this text that is not English at all, other than DNA. And I personally find it interesting, and, you know, this isn't his speculation, this is just mine, that someone like him is having this kind of encounter and they're talking about DNA, because obviously this kid is gifted with, you know, intelligence and a brilliant mind. And now he's having this thing where these beings seem to be interested in his DNA. Is that because he is hyper intelligent or possesses something? But I think at the very start of this interview, they did say that this sort of happened not long after he got into the topic. And he sort of talks about, you know, the common idea that we hear that, you know, when you stare into the abyss and that the abyss begins to stare back at you.
Was there any communication other than the symbols? Was there any mental communication or verbal?
So I heard like verbal voices when I'd moved my head completely and I could only see the ship. And it sounded like they were telling me to like relax or calm down. And it was like it was multiple voices, but it was a female one that told me that like it's okay. So that was it. There was also music that I heard in the middle of the experience, completely out of context, had no meaning to me at all. And it was about 3 or 4 seconds of some weird like rock genre, you can say. And the lyrics was, the best way I can describe it is, it was like English that was developed in a parallel universe. So it sounded like English, but not exactly, like as if it followed a different evolution of its own.
Now that bit creeps me out because, and I think I've told this story on stream before, but I've had an experience like that. Not obviously not with an alien, but I've had a weird. I'll just retell the story. Woke up one night. Well, you know, thought I was awake at least, like I was in my bed, but you know, looking back, it feels more like a dream-like state that I was in rather than being actually awake. But I woke up, or whatever it was from the perspective of my bed, and I could see that there was a light coming into my room from the lounge room, which was like very close to my bedroom. So it was if like all the lights in the lounge room in the main part of the house were on, and it was shining into my bedroom, which was obviously not normal because it was like in the middle of the night. And I could hear a whole bunch of voices. Like there was at least 5 voices that were all talking to each other at once. It almost sounded like listening to a party where you can just hear all these voices, except when I was listening to them, I couldn't make out like a word they were saying, but I remember feeling like it sounded like English. Like it sounds like they're speaking English, but I just can't make out a single word anybody is saying. And then I obviously just woke up in the morning and I asked my partner, like, did you hear anything? Was there a light on? And she was just like, no, nothing. And yeah, obviously, and it always just had a weird feeling to it. Like, sometimes you wake up from dreams that have a weird feeling. That was one of them. And interestingly, I believe when Tom DeLonge tells a story about going out into the desert to do CE5 and camping out there, he tells a kind of a similar tale that he could hear a whole, like, heaps of voices. I don't know if he specifically says that, like, he couldn't make out what they were saying, but just this idea of, like, you're in this, like, sleep mode of, like, paralysis, whatever, and you hear heaps and heaps of voices. So there's 3 different people, myself, Deep, and Tom DeLonge, who have all had a weird encounter with voices that sound English, but are not.
There was also, other than that, there was no other way of communication that I can say happened.
How long do you think the experience lasted, and how did it end?
It felt in total about 20 to 30 minutes. Of just like them showing these 3D objects. Like they would sometimes just, there was one part of where where I'm standing, I thought the experience ended, and I'm just standing in front of my fridge, just looking at it, and I can feel gravity, and I can physically feel like I'm, there, and then suddenly it just stops, and I'm back in my own body, like back lying in the bed, and seeing them as they're flipping these holograms. And I was like, holy crap, I thought this was over. How do they do that? So how it ended was the last couple minutes, this being, like, it jumps up on top of my bed, and it, like, I feel extreme euphoria come across, like an extreme bliss. Like the word that came to my mind was oneness, even though that had no meaning to me back then. That was the best way that I can describe it. So they had this, like, I'm going through this, like, just a bunch of thoughts, and I don't know, I was in a state of just being, where it felt like, I describe it as the universe being sentient, like it was acknowledging my existence, and it felt like I was remembering this, that, like, I always knew this somehow, and I always knew that I would come to this day, that this experience would happen, and I would realize this. It was just such a strange, alien feeling.
So weird, right? That, again, like, you're hearing these themes of, like, when he's having this experience, he's getting this feeling of oneness and, like, remembering that this was always going to happen, that this was supposed to happen. Like, these are the same kind of things that we hear from people having, like, near-death experiences, that there's this, like, sense of remembering where you came from and, like, remembering your purpose. And I wonder if, like, what happened to Deep, like, these experiences, do they only present themselves to people, not only who you have to believe in it, which is something that I think, but you have to have, like, a mind that is able to be stretched. Because if this experience, like look at the way he's retelling it, if we just assume that everything he's saying is true, and I believe him, there's no reason really not to. If this happened to someone who, just didn't believe in aliens, thought it was all just a joke, it was all a conspiracy theory, your average mainstream news enjoyer, okay? Like, they would not be able to retell the story the way Deep is. Like, if what has happened to him has happened, look at the way he's retelling it. I mean, he's telling you something absolutely mind-bending that makes no sense, and he's able to kind of retell the tale without any sort of, like, at least visible trauma. He's explaining it the best he can, and he's just sort of, like, positive about a wild experience that he happened. Someone who has a really closed mind and doesn't believe in this stuff, it's going to, like, short circuit them. Like, it's the definition of ontological shock, to the point that it would probably put them in a mental health facility. So hopefully they watched the stream and they liked it, because you guys know that when you like the video and the stream is over, you get 20% off at your local mental health facility. And if this experience happened to you and you have a closed mind, that would be helpful, that you had that 20% discount, right? Bronny says, my mum's out of hospital. Thanks, Polarity family. Hey, man, I'm happy to hear that. I'm glad your mum's doing okay. I hope you're doing okay as well. Thank you for that. FMJ with 10 says, I had an experience as a kid. I was staring at a wall, bedtime, but was zooming out from the earth further and further and started screaming. I think I was astral traveling. Damn, you might have been. I mean, I totally believe that children are far more naturally able to have these experiences and perceive things. And I think that they are, it's sort of like beaten out of us. The way society is structured is that like these abilities that we may have, that we're probably all born with, slowly just get crunched out of us over time. Probably by design of the world that we live in, but potentially it's almost like, you know, you are born flexible and limber. You know, babies have great posture when they squat and things like that. But then over time of perhaps like not training or not exercising, your muscles get tighter. They don't work as well. You're not as flexible. You're probably born with a pretty like flexible, powerful mind too. And there are probably elements to it that can do amazing things. But if you're not told about that and you never know to practice that or dig into that, that part of your brain, just like your biceps, if you don't do bicep curls, are just going to kind of shrink and get smaller. And, you know, they're not going to be very strong. I think the same applies to your brain because it is a muscle, right? Now, I have one more thing to show you guys. But just quickly, we are in the Touch Grass t-shirt, guys. You can get yourself one right here at the Polarity merch store. The link is below. These are really nice tees. This is the one in black. I've got it in green too. Got the nice long sleeves. It's thick. It's like a thick tee. Feels really good. And look, I have heard that guys, I know most of my audience is male. Guys, I have heard that if women see you in this top, they are actually 3 times more likely to sleep with you. Now, I can't, there's no buyer guarantee, okay? I can't reimburse you if that, results may vary, put it that way. Results may vary, but I have heard this, okay? I have heard this. John Anthony has gifted 5 memberships. John, you are an absolute legend, sir. Thank you very much. That's 5 new freaks in the clan. That is 5 new Knights of Weirdonia. Welcome, guys. Enjoy the members-only content. And tomorrow night, we have a podcast releasing with the one and only legendary Jason Samosa. And I'm very excited for that. And I'm going to play you guys the trailer here. Okay, so I've got a little 2-minute trailer of tomorrow's conversation. It's going to be premiering live at the time of a normal stream, so 9 p.m. Adelaide. And I'll hopefully be in the live chat as well, so we'll be able to hang out and talk. Hopefully Jason will be there. I can't guarantee that, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So this is the trailer coming out tomorrow night. Check it out.
There are lots of people who are kind of hinting at this hybrid conversation and saying that it's something that's coming, but it can't be discussed yet. I just hadn't appreciated quite how significant this conversation would be until you start tying all the pieces together and asking what it could mean. And it just blew my mind. I was like, there's too much testimony here. Too many people have seen things that are inexplicable. It's one of the things that would make the most sense to me about Israel. How do they have this much influence? How are they allowed to embarrass so many other nations and have done it so consistently? What if they have a unique relationship with some faction of non-human intelligence? The same government who wants me to believe that there is a non-human intelligence is also sanctioning and approving of conflicts that are unethical. And that's a very polite way of putting it. And they're also the same government who are covering up the Epstein files.
Thousands of pages of documents.
There is no credible information.
There's definitely something there, and it's something that is sort of like just on the cusp of our comprehension. We can sort of barely piece together what it actually is.
The reality is people have been seeing stuff for a long time. Whether you choose to interpret the UFO phenomenon as a Christian phenomenon, as like a demonic phenomenon, or whether you choose to reanalyze angels and demons through the UFO lens, you have to go one of those directions eventually. If you're a Christian, you're waiting for the return of the Messiah. If you're a Jew, you're waiting for the Messiah. And if you're in the UFO land, you're waiting for this impending 2027 event or whatever it is.
It does feel like all of these things are coming to some kind of convergence.
In 2026.
We're all looking up, waiting for something that's supposed to be coming. And everyone feels this sort of collective sense of urgency. The brain has the ability, under the right conditions, to shape your perception, because your brain doesn't just take reality as it is, it cooks it up inside of your head and gives you a way of interpreting it before your consciousness is even applied to it. That mechanism is just ripe for exploitation. Is it possible that they've learned how to manipulate that faculty? They don't even have to show you a real UFO. They can just do something to the brain so your brain starts to reinterpret what it's seeing through a certain interpretive lens.
Yep. What do we think? What do we think? I've been cooking that one up in the kitchen all day, and I'm excited. It was honestly a really fun conversation. It's about 2 hours. Jason's honestly, he's one of us. He's a great guy, great to talk to, great speaker, as you guys can tell. And I really enjoyed that conversation with him, and I'm excited for you guys to watch it as well. Stevie says, awesome, mate. Jason deserves so much more reach. I've binged all his videos, and he's a good one. Very grounded. He absolutely is, and that's why I'm actually like honored to have him on the channel, because I agree he deserves far more views, and I'm sure, but it will come. It will come, and you know, it's already started for him. The algorithm's already started working in his favor, and you know, when you're consistent and you're putting out content, generally the algorithm will you know, it'll help you out, and I think that's what's happening to him. And I'm glad that I could help him out as well, because like you said, he is one of us. He is one of the good dudes. So guys, that's pretty much it for the show today. I hope you enjoyed it. It's, you know, they're a little bit quicker at the moment, but that's okay. Just the fact that we're live, we get a chance to come together every night like the weirdos that we are. That's what's important to me. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the show today. The music isn't working for me, but it looks like it's working for you, so that's fine. Yes, we're at 72K. It is wild. Guys, thank you for watching. Be good to each other. Keep being kind. Come jump in Discord if you haven't already. It's open to everyone. The link is below. But make sure you touch and grass, and I will see you tomorrow for the Jason Momoa stream. See you tomorrow.
What the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.